Morning light spilled across chrome counters and cracked vinyl booths, the kind of diner that smelled like coffee refills and patience. Conversations hummed low, familiar, unremarkable. At the corner table sat an elderly black woman, coat folded. Beside her, hand steady as she lifted her spoon. She ate slowly, not from frailty, but from care, as if every moment deserved respect. Her eyes held years, and something else too, a calm that did not ask permission. The door swung open hard enough to rattle the bell. He came in loud before he spoke, boots heavy, voice heavier, dragging entitlement like a coat he never removed. He scanned the room the way men do when they expect it to shrink for them. His gaze landed on her and stayed there, curling into a smile that was not a smile at all. "You lost, Grandma," he said, too loud, enjoying the attention. Chairs creaked. A laugh flickered and died. She looked up once, met his eyes, then returned to her meal. That quiet refusal lit him up. He stepped closer, words spilling sharp and casual, practiced cruel, disguised as jokes. He questioned her right to sit, to eat, to exist where he stood. He spoke of people like you, as if history were a private club and he held the key. Each sentence pressed for a reaction. She gave him none. The room felt smaller. A waitress hovered. Torn man at the counter stared at his plate. A phone rose halfway, then froze. The bully leaned in, close enough that she could smell his breath, and hissed something meant only for her, something old and poisonous. She set her spoon down. Her voice was soft. "Please," she said, "let me be." That was when his hand moved. The sound cut through the diner like a gunshot, a flat, impossible crack. Her head turned just slightly. A cup slipped from someone's fingers and shattered. A child gasped and covered his mouth. Forks hovered in the air. Time buckled under the weight of what had happened. She did not scream. She did not fall. She touched her cheek, surprised, not by the pain, but by the audacity. The bully straightened, chest out, daring the room to challenge him. Silence answered, thick and accusing dot in that silence. Memories crowded her breathing. Long lines, longer shifts, the discipline of patience learned when anger costs too much. She straightened her back. Dignity, once learned, does not leave. Around her, strangers felt it too. A collective inhale, a recognition that something sacred had been violated in public. Across the room, hearts pounded as courage wrestled fear, and the question hung, who would stand and who would stay silent? In that stillness, something shifted, eyes lifted, anger pooled, phones came up. The bell over the door rang again, faint this time, unnoticed by the man who thought he had one. But what the bully didn't realize was that this slap had crossed a line the whole country would soon see, and it was about to summon a reckoning, far bigger than himself. He didn't apologize. He smirked. The bully rolled his shoulders like the room belonged to him now, like the sound of that slap had crowned him king. "See," he said, "loud enough for everyone. That's what happens when people forget their place." He laughed, sharp and brittle, feeding on the silence as if it were applause. The woman kept her seat. She dabbed her cheek with a napkin, slow and deliberate, refusing to rush her own humanity. When she looked up, her eyes were clear, not pleading, not afraid. "I belong wherever I choose to sit," she said, voice even, each word placed with care, "just like you." That steadiness enraged him. He leaned in again, pointing at her clothes, her hair, her skin, cataloging insults like receipts. He spoke of age as weakness, of race as trespass, of entitlement dressed up as tradition. "People like you ruined this country," he said. "Now you want a booth too." He turned to the room, searching for nods, for laughter, for permission. The room answered in fragments. A woman near the window stared at her coffee, jaw tight. A trucker shifted on his stool, torn between standing and staying safe. The waitress whispered, "Sir, please," then swallowed the rest. Someone lifted a phone higher, framing the scene as proof, as insurance, as history being made in real time. The elderly woman did not rise to his bait. She straightened her spine, the posture of someone who had waited in lines others never saw, who had paid dues that never made headlines. "I have paid my share," she said. "I have loved this country longer than you've known how." Her calm was not weakness. It was discipline. It was the strength of restraint. The bully scoffed. "Oh, listen to that," he mocked, clapping once. "A lecture." He puffed his chest, intoxicated by his own performance. "Nobody's stopping me. That tells you everything." He spread his arms as if the diner were his stage, as if silence meant consent. But silence was cracking. It sounded like breathing, held too long. The phone's red light blinked. Somewhere online, the first comments were already forming, sharp and incredulous. Why didn't anyone step in? This is America in one clip. The moment was no longer just happening. It was being judged. She met his eyes again, unflinching. "You confuse loud with right," she said, "and fear with respect." The words landed, softly and stayed. Around them, heads lifted. Someone murmured, "She's right." Another whispered, "Enough." He tried to laugh it off, but his laugh thinned. You think words scare me, he said, though his voice cracked at the edge. He pointed to the door. You should be grateful I'm letting you finish your meal. Grateful a word hung there. Obscene. She shook her head, a small motion that carried a lifetime. Gratitude doesn't belong to bullies, she said. It belongs to those who serve others. The bully took a step back, then forward, testing the room. He wanted a shove, a shout, something to justify the story he told himself. None came. The diners were changing imperceptibly, courage rising like a tide that starts as a whisper. Outside the frame of his swagger, the room kept recalibrating. The trucker's foot slid back from the stool. The woman by the window lifted her chin. The waitress straightened her apron and found her voice again. Steadier this time. The phone captured faces now, not just fists and mouths. The quiet math of people deciding who they were going to be when the clip finished recording. The bully mistook the pause for surrender. He bragged about consequences that never touched. Dim, about jobs and friends and a life cushioned by excuses. He spoke the language of impunity, each sentence daring the room to contradict him. I'm doing you a favor, he said, nodding at the woman, as if mercy were his to grant. She folded her napkin and placed it beside her plate. The small ritual felt ceremonial, a reclaiming of space. You don't get to decide who deserves peace, she said, and you don't get to rewrite my worth. Her voice carried without rising, a reminder that patriotism could sound like patience, that love of country could look like endurance. A man at the counter cleared his throat. That's enough, he said, surprised to hear himself speak. The bully spun, irritation, flashing. Another voice joined, then another, tentative but present. The silence broke into something else, fragile and brave. The bully glanced at the door, then back at the woman, recalculating. He took a breath to perform again. The bell above the door rang, cutting through his victory like a blade. The bell's ring was ordinary, the kind that usually announced nothing more than another appetite. But this time it landed differently. A man stepped inside and paused, letting the door close behind him. He didn't scan the menu, he scanned the room. His posture was straight, economical, as if still answering to a rhythm no one else could hear. His eyes moved with purpose, taking in faces, exits, angles, the way tension sits in the shoulders before it finds a voice. He saw the bully first, loud and puffed up, basking in attention. Then he saw the woman at the booth. The red mark on her cheek caught the light. His jaw tightened, but his feet didn't rush. Discipline held him in place. The bully noticed him too and laughed, mistaking composure for weakness. What are you staring at? He said, grinning, hungry for a new audience. Sit down or keep it moving. The woman lifted her gaze to the man by the door. Her voice was gentle, almost private. Son, she said, it's okay. 2 words that changed the temperature of the room. He nodded once, a small acknowledgement heavy with history. He walked toward her table, steps measured, and stood beside her chair. He didn't touch her face. He didn't look at the bully. He placed himself there like a promise kept. Phones rose higher. Whispers skidded. Someone recognized the bearing. Before the badge, the way veterans do. The man spoke at last, calm and clear. I'm here with my mother, he said, and I need this to stop. The bully scoffed, waving a hand. What are you, her lawyer? He leaned back, still playing. To the room. Mind your business. The man met his eyes then, and the room leaned with him. I am, he said, because she's my family. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He let the truth do the work. I serve this country. I've sworn to protect people like her. The words rippled outward. Navy SEAL was not announced. It was understood. It lived in the way he stood, the way he chose restraint. The bully's smile faltered. He looked around for allies and found only lenses. The woman placed her hand on her son's arm. It steadied him as much as it steadied her. We don't need trouble, she said. We need decency. The simplicity cut deeper than anger. The bully tried to recover. So what? He said, louder now. That makes you special. His voice wavered on the word. The room heard it. So did the internet, already chewing the clip into meaning. Comments bloomed. That's her son, he serves. This is who we disrespect. A veteran at the counter stood, cap in hand. Thank you for your service, he said, not to perform, but to remind. Another nodded. A woman whispered, my brother served. The bully shrank under the weight of witnesses. The son stayed still. Service isn't a shield, he said. It's a responsibility. He glanced at his mother. It starts with respect. The line traveled fast, clean enough to be quoted, strong enough to stand alone. Outside the diner, the story multiplied. Feeds refreshed. Panels formed. Who belongs here? Who decides? Clips stitched together outrage and pride, cruelty and calm. Veterans spoke about restraint. Immigrants spoke about dignity. The bully's words sounded smaller each time they replayed dots inside. The bully felt it slipping. He shifted his stance, hands restless. You think you're better than me? He asked, a plea disguised as a challenge. The son shook his head. I think we're measured by how we treat the vulnerable, he said. And right now, you're failing. The room exhaled. The bully opened his mouth to strike back, but the air had changed. He wasn't the loudest anymore. He wasn't the center. He was exposed. The son did nothing else. He didn't move closer. He didn't raise a finger. His restraint filled the space violence once occupied, and it was louder than any slap. The bully believed strength was force. He was about to learn what real power looks like. The man beside her finally spoke again, and the room leaned forward as if pulled by gravity. His voice was steady, neither loud nor apologetic. I served 12 years, he said. Multiple deployments. I took an oath to defend this country and the people in it, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. He didn't list medals. He didn't need to. The truth carried its own weight. He spoke of nights without sleep, of friends who never made it home, of the discipline required to choose restraint when chaos begged for rage. That oath doesn't end when I take off the uniform, he said. It follows me into rooms like this. Each sentence landed like a measured step forward, impossible to argue with because it wasn't asking for permission. The bully blinked, recalculating. I didn't know, he muttered. The first crack in his armor. I was just... His words tangled, excuses tripping over each other as he tried to shrink the moment back down to something survivable. You knew enough, the son replied. Enough to raise your hand. He stayed planted beside his mother, close but not looming. A presence meant to protect, not intimidate. My uniform taught me restraint. It taught me that power is responsibility, not permission. Around them, the crowd tightened, not with fists but with voices. You crossed the line, someone said. That's assault, another added. The waitress stepped forward, hand shaking but voice clear. I'm calling the police, she said, and did. A man at the counter nodded, emboldened. We all saw it, he said. The bully's eyes darted, searching for an exit that no longer existed. His bravado drained. He glanced at the door again, then at the phones, then at the faces that no longer looked away. This is getting blown out of proportion, he said, smaller now. You people are twisting it. The words sounded thin, rehearsed, already losing the argument. No, the son said quietly. We're seeing it. He turned to his mother. Are you okay? She nodded, eyes shining but dry. I am, she said. I've been worse. The room heard resilience, not bravado, and responded with respect. Sirens approached, distant at first, then unmistakable. The bully's shoulders sagged. When the officers entered, the room parted for them. Authority arrived without spectacle, and suddenly the bully had nothing to perform against. He stood with his hands fidgeting, the confidence gone, replaced by the smallness he had tried to assign to others. An officer took statements, eyes flicking to the red mark on the woman's cheek. Ma'am, he asked gently, do you want to press charges? The room held its breath, aware that this answer would define more than a case. She paused. In that pause lived generations of endurance, the calculus of survival, the cost of mercy. She looked at her son, then back at the officer. I want accountability, she said, and I want this to stop. Her voice did not waver. Mercy, when chosen freely, sounded like strength, not surrender. The bully opened his mouth, then closed it. There was nothing left to say. His myth of dominance had collapsed under the simplest facts: service, witness, law. The story he told himself could not survive the light. The son placed a hand on his mother's shoulder, grounding them both. He did not smile, he did not gloat. This is what the oath means, he said to no one and everyone. Standing up without striking back, around them, strangers nodded, understanding that restraint was not weakness but resolve. As the officers led the bully away, the room exhaled together. Phones lowered, eyes met. The power had shifted, not with force, but with clarity, and everyone felt it. Chill-filtered, the officer glanced around, noting the witnesses, the recording phones, the way truth had organized the room without commands. We'll take it from here, he said, and it sounded final. The bully tried once more to meet the son's eyes, but found only calm. That calm unsettled him more than anger ever could. In the quiet, the diner reclaimed itself, cups refilled, shoulders lowering, a shared sense that something important had just been defined. The woman breathed in, steady and full, and the breath seemed to give others permission to do the same. Respect, once restored, spread quickly. History, they sensed, had shifted by inches, not miles. Yet inches mattered when lines were drawn and crossed, when dignity stood its ground and refused to be moved again by noise, fear, or convenient silence. The lesson lingered, undeniable, heavy, but the real impact of that slap wouldn't be decided inside the diner. The clip did not stay inside the diner. It spilled outward, carried by shaking hands and racing hearts, uploaded with captions full of disbelief and rage. Within hours it was everywhere. Veterans paused their mornings to watch it twice. Mothers sent it to sons. Sons sent it back with a single word: respect. Commentators argued, but even their arguments circled the same truth. Patriotism was being redefined in real time, not as dominance or volume, but as dignity under pressure. The woman's face became familiar, not because she had been struck, but because she had stood. The screens filled with her calm eyes, her steady posture and the way she refused to shrink. People called her brave, but she corrected that story by example. She was not seeking courage. She was living it the only way she knew how. Grace, the kind earned through survival, resonated deeper than outrage ever could. Veterans spoke up in chorus. They talked about restraint as the highest discipline. They recognized the son immediately, not by uniform, but by choice. He had carried force and set it down. He had been trained for violence and chosen protection instead. Praise followed him, but it was different from the praise he was used to. It wasn't loud. It was grateful. Across feeds and living rooms, a broader conversation took shape. People argued about belonging, about who gets to claim the nations, a story about whose pain counts. Yet again and again, the image pulled them back. An elder refusing humiliation, a soldier refusing escalation. The contrast clarified values better than any speech ever could, and viewers felt seen in ways statistics never manage. Teachers discussed it in classrooms. Faith leaders referenced it from pulpits. Immigrant families recognized themselves in her stillness and his restraint. The moment crossed lines that pundits insist are unbridgeable, reminding people that shared values still exists when given room to breathe. The bully's name surfaced briefly, then sank. Consequences arrived quietly. Charges filed. A job lost. Invitations rescinded. The attention he craved abandoned him, leaving only accountability behind. He did not become a martyr or a symbol. He became irrelevant, which was perhaps the most honest outcome of all. In interviews, the woman refused bitterness. "I want us to do better," she said. "All of us." The simplicity cut through with the noise. Pundits searched for angles, but found only values: justice, respect, responsibility. The words felt old and new at the same time, like promises America had made before and needed to keep again. The son returned to anonymity as best he could. He declined praise that framed him as an enforcer. "I just stood where I was needed," he said. That humility echoed. People began sharing stories of quiet stands, of moments when they chose dignity over domination. The ripple widened. Communities debated policies, but this story lingered beyond legislation. It asked a simpler question that cut deeper than ideology. Who do you protect when it costs you comfort? And who do you become when no one is forcing your choice? What endured was not the slap, it was the stillness after. The collective decision to look instead of turn away, to record, to speak, to stand without striking back. The diner became a footnote. The lesson became a headline. America, in moments like this, reveals what it values when tested. Not the loudest voice, not the cruelest certainty, but the steady courage of ordinary people who refuse to let cruelty define the room. The kind of strength that protects without performing, that holds space for accountability and mercy to exist together. In the final images, the woman and her son step into daylight. The bell rings behind them, returning to its ordinary work. They walk side by side, heads high, unhurried. No cheers followed and no cameras intrude. Just the quiet knowledge that something essential held. Real power does not slap down. It stands up. It stays. And it reminds a watching nation who it belongs to in moments like this, when dignity outlives noise and cruelty forever.